Welcome to Two Luckies,
the podcast,
and our series Dyin,
Cryin,
and
Lyin.
This is a series of us talking about Little House on the Prairie and our take on it as adults.
It is very different as an adult.
Very different. And if you sum this all up, they can fall into one of three categories, either Dyin,
They're crying,
or they're
lying.
So sit back, relax, come take an adventure with us as we reminisce on Little House the Prairie, Dyin,
Cryin,
and
Lyin.
Lyin.
Season 1, Survival.
Ooh.
The Ingalls family has the cover on the wagon, and they are rolling down some very mowed-looking grassy fields over here. And we go inside, and we immediately have the Carrie report.
Yay, Carrie!
She's right in the beginning, and Laura's all happy because Pa had taken the whole family with him to Mankato, and it was spring, and they were on the way back, and now they get stopped by three people on horses riding towards them, and somehow Charles is supposed to just know through the air somehow, because Ma says, "What is it, Charles?" He's looking at the same thing you're looking at, lady.
You're looking at the same things. Let's just find out.
Yeah, but it's spring and it's cold. Everyone is bundled up looking cold.
So the three men that approach Chaz, one of them is a U.S. Deputy Marshal and his two associates. I don't remember what their names were. But he tells them that he's looking for a savage named Jack Lamehorse, and has he seen him?
And he's a Sioux Indian is who he's looking for.
Sioux Indian. So right away, Chaz, nope, can't help you. And a guy tells him, listen, that there's a blizzard coming. That's what he said. There's a blizzard coming. And he's like, a little late in the year for a blizzard.
Shelter,
Storm, maybe. And he tells him he's had both of his feet frostbitten twice, and his feet are telling him, so he's got trick feet.
Yes, he's got trick feet, and they're looking for the Sioux Indian whose only crime when he's asked what this person's crime is was being born. And to which Charles declares, and he says that the Sioux Indian was the savage. So he's already judging here. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. That wind is whistling.
Oh, yeah.
This wind is howling, and I want to remind everybody listening that this is before electricity, indoor plumbing, telephones. They have no way of communicating with anybody that they know. They are all this family unit by themselves, traveling through this very windy conditions. You can see the horse's breath, and they come along after bumping over the snow and find what looks like an abandoned cabin it's got a broken window. The door they need to wedge shut, but it does have a fireplace, and at least it gets them out of the weather. And he's doing something right now with the horses. But we hear from Ma that she'll fix the window. You go out and get some wood.
The women can manage just nicely, thank you.
In this family. He seems happy that they found shelter, but she's still concerned.
Chaz took the horse out. He's gone to get some firewood. He's got a log down, and he's chopping away with this, what looks like a very dull axe.
Really, all of their axes seem dull in this show.
And meanwhile, Ma's asked Mary back at this little cabin to get the fire started while she's trying to fix the broken window.
Well, she gives Mary the matches, and we know from previous episodes they are not allowed to use matches, so this is a dire circumstance that Mary is allowed to use the matches.
And then while Pa's out there chopping, one of his dream team there actually alerts him and does a whinny. Whee!
Right, and tries to move around, and he looks around and doesn't see anything.
Chaz doesn't see anything, but then they pan in and show there's a figure standing in the brush.
Yes, and this figure is wearing furs and is much better equipped for this weather than anybody else that we've seen so far. We get back to this little abandoned cabin that they're in, and Laura says, "Ma, it's really snowing hard." And Ma says, "Oh, I've seen a few flakes, and we're going to call that Lyin." It's like a whiteout out there, woman. Oh, my goodness gracious. And then Carrie's over there, and she's got lines in this one. She had lines before. She's got lines now. Carrie is doing a good job.
Go, Carrie.
Go, Carrie.
Chaz comes back with his dream team horse there, and he's dragging one log with him. Did an awful lot of chopping out there just for one log, but okay. He gets it back, and then we see Ma standing in the cabin, looks out the window, sees them got over to the barn. Then he starts chopping on this thing again. And what can I say? But sometimes I think she is way out there.
Well, she's over there telling him to come in for dinner when she's just telling him to go out and get wood and don't fix the window because you got to get this done before dark. So now she's calling him in while it's still daylight to come do this because he had been so long and dinner's ready. He passed a wooden fence. Wouldn't you?
Right.
I mean, this is an abandoned cabin. This was one of those wooden fences that's got like three, long
Like
pieces of
split
wood.
rail.
The split rail fence. I would have chopped that thing up. It's way out in the woods. Got the attention of this person who's standing there still looking at him from the distance. He passes the split rail fence that was right in the front yard.
Yeah.
It was daytime when he passed it, and now he's chopping in this barn, trying to chop this wood that looks like it's frozen and it's probably too green anyway. And now, I don't know, I'm finding myself a little frustrated with this episode for some reason. But it's typical behavior for all of them, and
I just like when she yelled out, Chaz!
Chaz, can't you come in and eat now? And he's like, no, I want to get this done before it gets dark. We're back in this abandoned cabin. The girls have been put to bed. They're asleep. And then they pan around to show all this small wood where we were both wondering, where did he pick up all these small sticks when you were chopping this big log, right? And then they got a nice fire going, and they're eating the last dregs of what food that they had brought with them. They only had enough food to get back from Mankato. Ma is trying to choke down whatever is in this pan. She's having a very hard time eating it. The actress, not the character. And Charles is standing at the window, and she's trying to be lighthearted about, well, maybe it's not a blizzard. He said, really? He looked at her like, really?
Yeah.
There's 2 feet on the ground now. Even if it stopped right this second, we're in trouble. So they have very little food left. It was like the Oregon Trail. If you needed to go back to get supplies, they got just a little bit of everything, but not much of anything.
They're in a pickle right now.
They are
that's for
really
sure.
in a pickle, but they are stuck inside of this cabin, and they don't know when they're going to get out. That wind is howling outside.
Whipping.
Ma's laying down in the bed that they made. They put all their blankets and pillows down, and she's laying down with the children sleeping. She rolls over, finds out that Charles barely slept. He found a way to fashion, so I got to give him an attaboy. Because he found a way to fashion some kind of snowshoes because there's been a break in the snow, but he looked at the sky and he feels like there's more coming because she is in denial, Ma, about any kind of potential of there being any more snow. She just doesn't want to believe it. He leaves without eating breakfast, and then she's looking very grave and very dire, and he gets her to laugh by saying, well, you did say that I was, gaining a few pounds. And then she bundles him up with a scarf around the top of his hat to cover his ears like he's a little kid, gives him a kiss, and they did a really good job of blowing her hair back when that door opened because, my goodness, she got a blast of wind right to the face, and now he's outside with his new snowshoes trying to find something to eat because they only had enough for 3 days, and they are definitely going to be more than 3 days in this situation.
You know what I find interesting about the whole thing? With the way that wind's whipping, he's carrying a musket rifle, which are just lead balls, and they really had no kind of accuracy.
They had hardly any accuracy and no wind,
Yeah, how are you going to be accurate trying to shoot a deer in like 50-mile-an-hour winds?
I mean, this wind
You'd have to be
like,
almost on top of it.
This wind is like blow you down kind of wind. Like an adult standing there would be leaning into it, and still it would be blowing them over,
So Chaz is out walking in the storm, and that wind is a whipping and a howling, and he's navigating through the woods, and I think he even took a hatchet out and marked the tree.
Yes, he chopped into a tree to make so he would know on the way back how to get back.
And while he's doing all this, we get another look at this mystery man that's right behind him wearing all kinds of fur skins, and he looks like he actually has a proper Winchester rifle.
You've been bringing this up, that everybody else in the show has a Winchester rifle, which was a more modern rifle for the time.
You load a bullet, you pull the trigger. You're not sitting there stuffing black powder down a barrel and then stuffing a ball on top of that with, little to no accuracy whatsoever.
Charles has a very old technology, I think, even for back then. Like the Winchester was very popular at this time.
But it looks like Chaz got something in his sights, because next thing you know, he knelt down, he pulled the trigger, bam, and then we got to see what happened.
And we were trying to figure out how he pulled the trigger because he had like mittens on. So he didn't take the mittens off. He shot the thing, and this guy is now following him with very nice fur boots on, and he looks like he's wearing a deer skin. He looks like he's wearing all kinds of skins, but he's wearing definitely a deer skin. And they're giving us this ominous music.
Go Chaz.
Go Chaz. Ma's back with the three girls at the abandoned cabin. She looks like she's taken some kind of charred stick and drawn a hopscotch board. And now the girls are starting to argue, and that's Mary and Laura, because Laura wants to play by Mankato rules, not the rules that they played in school. And Mary's saying, you never even played hopscotch in Mankato. And then they were saying, you're not even supposed to argue. And Ma actually gives them permission to argue as long as it keeps them warm. So Ma takes a turn, which she did pretty good with it. They didn't show us her feet. And even Carrie, yay, Carrie!
Yay, Carrie!
Carrie got to play hopscotch, so we got to watch her play hopscotch. But Ma is having a tough time trying to keep feeling good and happy and warm.
Entertained.
Yes, and entertained in this situation.
And Chaz is walking through the woods, and it looks like he's got a deer draped over his shoulders. So we're going to call our first
Dyin!
He did it. He was able to get the deer. So now he's got this thing draped around his neck, and he's walking and using his musket rifle like a walking stick, and the wind is whipping, and it is snowing hard.
It's crazy.
And at one point, he falls over, gets back up, and then we see that he actually dropped his axe because it is storming like crazy.
The Native American guy that everybody is looking for because his biggest crime was being born comes up behind and picks up the hatchet or the axe or whatever that was, and now he's following Charles, and they keep doing this ominous music.
So he's making his way back to the cabin.
And we're paused right here. They get back to the cabin, and we got Carrie again for the win.
Yep.
She's smiling, and she looks happy. Carrie is playing Simon Says with Ma and her sisters, and then Ma goes through all the instructions, and she's doing really well, and then Ma didn't say Simon Says, and she touches her head, and Laura and Mary are looking at her like, oh my goodness, like you didn't pay attention. They hug her and stuff. She was really trying. It was
I think
cute.
Carrie's kind of making up for all the lines she didn't have in the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, she really...
This is like the third or fourth time now
Yeah,
she's had something
she's
to
really
say.
getting the lines here. Go, Carrie.
Go, Carrie. We're back with Chaz walking through the woods, and now it's nighttime, and the wind is still howling and whipping, and he is trying his best to walk along and get this deer back, but he trips and he falls down this big hill.
He looks exhausted.
He lost the deer, he lost his rifle, and now he's laying there.
Both of his snowshoes went in two different directions.
He is a mess, and he just finally looked like he just collapsed, and now he laid down and closed his eyes. So I think they're trying to say maybe he's malnourished because he didn't eat.
Yeah, he only had that little bit of stew the night before, and he said give all the food to the girls, and that he was going to have to figure it out later, but he's exhausted.
It's looking dire.
It is. Mom managed to scrape up some kind of food for the girls, and she's dishing it out, and she says, eat it very slowly.
Make it last.
Make it last. And then they go out into the woods where Charles was laying on the ground, and this man who's been following him, wearing all these deer skins and everything, is now standing over him, and now we're wondering what's going to happen because they sent us back to the cabin where Ma's praying for his safe return.
I gotta say, it's really not looking too good right now.
No, he's having a hard time here.
Back inside the cabin, it looks like they're getting ready to settle down, and all of a sudden there's a pounding on the door, and instead of it being Chaz, it's that U.S. Marshal they came across earlier.
Now, I was thinking, and I was saying this, is this guy a glutton for punishment? He said that He said that he's had frostbite twice in his feet, and that's how he knew the blizzard was coming, because his body told him all about it. Meanwhile, here he is, frozen like a popsicle stick, standing outside the door. His hands are frozen, his feet are frozen. It's like, you knew it was coming. You warned them. Why didn't you take your own advice and take shelter? We have no idea, but now he's saying, God help him that Charles is out there, and Ma is looking worried.
Very worried.
Very worried.
We're back outside in the dark, and we see Chaz, who is laying what looks like under some kind of a pine tree or something, and there's a nice fire cooking in front of him, and he's kind of shivering and whimpering, but it doesn't look like he's really awake yet. And then we pan up to see that it is the Indian, Jack Lame Horse?
The Sioux, yeah.
Yes, Lame Horse.
Yeah, Jack Lame Horse, I think.
who looks like he got the fire going and kind of wakes up Chaz by putting his mittened hands on his face.
And he wakes up and they stare into each other's eyes and they have this very tense moment because Charles has no idea who this man is, what he's done. He knows the U.S. Marshals are after him. And now he's woken up under a tree next to a fire and this guy looks like he saved him, but he's worried.
But it looks like Lame Horse might have saved him from
Dyin!
It looks like he was right on the edge.
And thank you, Mr. Lamehorn. We're back at the abandoned cabin. Ma is folding all of the bedding. It
Her
looks
and
like
Mary.
with Mary, and Laura is sitting there with Carrie. Carrie's
Hey,
over there
Carrie.
again. She's in this episode a lot. And they're looking at this guy who came in frozen, and he's soaking his feet, and she asks, do your feet hurt? And he says, oh, like fury. And she asks how they got that way, and we find out that a horse had gotten off of the line that they had tied it onto, and when he went to go fetch the horse, he got turned around, and somehow he couldn't find his way back to the camp, and he stumbled upon them, and now they've got this guy here. But he's saying you get lost in weather like this. And Mary proclaims that Pa knows how to mark a trail. He knows what he's doing out there, and he'll find his way home.
Back outside, we got the Sioux chief, and it looks like he's trying to get Chaz back to the cabin with a very ingenious idea. He's got a rope tied from his waist going back to Chaz, and he's kind of towing him along. And Chaz is not having a good time at all. He's flailing around. He falls over again. The chief has to go back and pick him up. It looks really dire
Well,
out there.
and we see no evidence of the deer, so he retrieved.
Deer's gone.
It looks like he retrieved his rifle, though, because it looks like Mr. Lamehorse has the rifle on him, and he's carrying the musket, and he's holding on to Charles now because he's, like, helping him out. But it does not look like this hunt was successful because I guess the wolves got the deer because no, they don't
I'm
have
sure
it.
they did.
Now we're back at that cabin again. This U.S. Marshal is giving the girls a history lesson about what happened. And back in 62, the Sioux Indians practically wiped out the U.S. forces and that they taught them a lesson. And really, if you think about it, they taught them a lesson of what? That we're going to take your land because that's what happened.
Right.
I mean, so this guy is like really fervently telling about this and how, oh, but we got them. So this whole scene right there was all about Dyin. We knew they couldn't. We was just pressing that button. They were talking about all the Sioux warriors dying. They were talking about all the U.S. forces dying. Everybody was dying all over the place. And the girls are looking very upset. And then we hear a banging on the door. And Carolyn goes running over to the door and opens it up. And in comes Charles with
The Sioux chief.
and he goes, lame horse.
horse.
So now the U.S. Marshal has him at gunpoint. Charles tries to say he saved my life, but he's too exhausted from this whole ordeal that he just went through. And now Mr. Lame Horse is standing there having to give up all of his weapons while he's standing there at gunpoint. The girls are huddling in the corner, all because this guy is on a mission to get rid of him because he was the only one left from this whole ordeal back in 62.
It's like he jumped out of the frying pan right into the fire.
Yes, and he did something really kind and really, he saved somebody's life, and this is what he gets for it. I remember thinking that when I watched this episode. Like, this is what he gets for this? Like, he did something really good, and he got this? We're back in that cabin. Ma had been instructed to tie up the Sioux chief. He is now sitting by the fire, and Charles is spooning in something hot into a cup and having him drink it while he's staring across at this U.S. Marshal, probably thinking, how did I even get here?
And I just want to point out, Chaz had the smirk.
Yes,
This
he
is
did have the
going on.
smirk there for a second while he was giving them his hot thing that he drank very quickly. But Ma comes over and he asks, you all right? And I'm going to call a Lyin because she says, oh, I'm fine. I was just worried he was going to kill you. And then she starts crying. So were you okay? We think not. Charles and Carolyn are sitting over there. Now, this is a very small area they're in. I know the wind is loud, but they're talking like this guy can't hear them, this lawman. But the whole reason they're going along with this whole plan of having this man tied up is because he's the law. He's the law, and we have to listen to him. And he's full of hate and all this other stuff. And Charles tells that he had a deer. He was close to bringing it home, and he lost it. And now he's going to wait for a lull in the storm and go and try to get some more food. And she's very worried about, well, what if that's impossible? And he said, well, there's always the horses. So
Not
he is
the dream team.
the dream team from the 100-mile walk are potentially on the chopping block here. They are in danger.
Nighttime in the cabin, and everyone is fast asleep.
They are all
except for
snooze.
Lame Horse, who's sitting up against the fireplace and gets it in his head that he he's gonna get out of there. So what's he do? He pulls a poker out of the fire, heats up the ropes behind his back, and busts free. Next thing you see him, he's grabbing his rifle, he takes his knife, gets around the sleeping marshal, and then opens the door and runs out. And now they got these whipping winds coming into the cabin, and there's the marshal, Lame Horse, and goes out and tries to shoot him, and Chaz tackles him.
Yes, the shot goes wild, and thankfully Lame Horse is free. But now Charles is called a dirty Indian lover. That's a quote.
Dirty
and is
Indian
sent back
lover.
inside because he let him go. So Charles and Carolyn have a discussion about how there's nothing that's happening. This storm has been raging for days.
On and on and
It
on.
is not letting up, and he's going to have to go out to the barn, and he is planning on making one of the dream team jingling horses from the 100-mile walk. He's trying to make it be a Dyin. So he's getting ready to go out, and this lawman is going on and on and on about how he wants some of that soup. Now, he knows they had no food. That literally, like, the first thing they said when he got there was that he went out because they didn't have food. So he said, well, we would have had food if you didn't give it to that Indian. And now they go through this whole discussion about how that darn Abe Lincoln was the one that let them all go because the Sioux warriors had been pardoned by Abe Lincoln. And this guy is still not over it. I thought to myself, he's not over Macho Grande.
I'm afraid he'll never get
He'll
over
never
Macho
get over
Grande.
Macho Grande. But he's sitting here and he is still angry, and we're told that it's 16 years since they've been pardoned. And this guy has been chasing Mr. Lame Horse for 16 years with hatred in his heart because he said, I don't know why he came in here because he was trying to get your woman, your children, your food or whatever. And he said, well, why did he save my life then? Like, I mean, this guy's just not making any sense. And I was thinking to myself, the worst thing Ma did was open that door.
Yep. Should have just left them outside.
She should have just left them. They wouldn't have had half of this trouble.
Live and learn. So Chaz is walking out to the barn, and he's got one of his dream team in sight, and he's cocking the gun and getting ready to do the deed, and all of a sudden there's a shadow behind them. He turns around, and there's Lame Horse, and what does he got?
He's got that same looking deer that Charles lost. This is the funniest looking deer. It looks like it's stuffed. So, like, I mean, it's really, it's kind of a lame looking deer. But he comes in and he brings him food, and Charles tries to get him to thanks him and says, could you go in the house and go get warm? And Mr. Lame Horse knows he can't go in there because this lawman is still in there.
This guy wants to kill him.
Yeah, so he was saved at the nick of time. What did Mr. Lame Horse get for bringing them food and being kind again?
He got shot.
He got shot. This Anders guy, who's the lawman, comes running out, shoots, screams his name, Lame Horse. He shoots him, and he runs out. I got him. And Charles comes out, goes and checks on him, and then punches that lawman right in the mouth.
Popped him good.
He said he didn't have to come back. He brought us food so you wouldn't starve. Now help me bring him in the house. So this guy just can't catch a break here. But now he's shot.
Pa's inside the cabin with Lame Horse, who's laying down and wrapped up in a blanket, and tells Ma that he was able to get the bullet out and looks like the wound's clean, and then proclaims he's gonna make it.
He's gonna make it.
You're not Doc Baker, so how can you really say
Even
that?
Doc Baker doesn't make guarantees like this.
Then he goes out, he needs to go out and get more firewood, and now the marshal all of a sudden is telling him, oh, he's sorry, what more do you want from me? And Chaz has to give him like a bit of a tongue lashing over that.
Yeah, he said you took almost everything from this man. You took his freedom, you took his land, and you almost took his life. If you're sorry, go tell him.
So after he goes outside, then we see that it looks like it's actually clearing up, and we hear from a little monologue from Laura that it's been 3 weeks.
3 weeks before the wind shifted to the south, and now they are getting, Mr. Lame Horse is finally better, and they are getting ready to leave.
What an episode.
Yeah. We hear some voices from outside the cabin, and we find out that the lawman's associates have now found him, and they just rode up with their horses, and they call out to him that they haven't seen Mr. Lame Horse anywhere, but they're still looking. And he's standing there, and now Charles is very tense. Everyone is very tense about whether or not this lawman is going to give up the ghost that Mr. Lame Horse is literally just sitting under the window, like, So what does he do? He is a lion because he tells him, I don't know where Mr. Lame Horse is, and I'm not going to be looking anyway. He's probably back on the reservation. So thank you. I was thinking this episode was a little light on the Lyin, but they had to bring it out for us. So they hit all of our categories in this. Well, I'm already wrapping up. I shouldn't be wrapping up yet.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. So the lawman leaves. He doesn't let them come anywhere near the cabin. He goes. Mr. Lame Horse goes and stands on this bridge up there, holds his rifle above his head as Ma and Pa are in the front of the wagon, space barring their way home. And then he holds up his rifle. They don't even wave. Ma looks like she's getting a little misty eye. I thought she might have been crying, but she held it back, so she didn't give us that crying. But in this, they everything was right with the world. Everything was saved. Everybody was better. But they hit our categories because the deer was a dying, and then Ma at one point was crying, and they were really light on the Lyin because usually they're pressing that button a lot. But either way, they hit all three of our categories, and they were talking about a whole bunch of people dying, so they knew that this was dying, crying, and Lyin. And even though this was a very tense episode, and it was kind of long here and there, but they were dying, crying, and Lyin. So far, we have been correct.
We have been correct. Make sure you tune in to the next episode, which is called To See the World.
To See the World?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that concludes this episode of Two Lockies.
Two Lockies, the podcast.
And our series, Dyin,
Cryin,
and Lyin.
We released these in threes, so if you enjoyed it, there's more. Go check it out.
Go check them out. We'll see you next time.
We're out.
See ya.
Two Lockies, the podcast.
Two Lockies, the podcast.
Two Lockies, the podcast.
You made it to the end.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Woohoo!
Fun fact for today.
It is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
So we are doing a little recording sesh on St. Patrick's Day. So we thought we'd give you a little luck of the Irish from Two Lockies.
Two Lockies,
the podcast.
The podcast.